Hey guys, this is Jay Lethal, the Blood Machismo, and whoa, the Nature Boy, and you're listening to the Potsy and Tino Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the music is still playing. The Pots and Pens Network brings to you its tag team champions of the world, the Potsy and Tino Show. That's right. It's Potsy, it's Tino, it's Monday night, and you know what that means.
See, I wanted to do that a couple.
You didn't think I was going to do it, did you?
Fuck you, Rob. I wanted to do that a couple of weeks ago. You're like, no, I don't want to steal AEW stuff.
So all right, I need you to get on my level, Tino. But Tino seems to be having some technical difficulties. His computer seems to be slowing down and just.
No, that was yours froze up because it froze up for a second when you're doing like this. You stopped on my screen. Yeah.
Anyways, welcome back after a week off. Tino is a year older.
Yes. God.
Our show tonight is brought to you by 1233 Restitution
and Crown Royal and Coke.
Well, you need to try some of this, my friend. This is Restitution Rye Whiskey. This is made by 1233 in well, actually, I think they're technically in South Carolina. They're like right near the border of North and South Carolina, near Wilmington and Myrtle Beach. It's so let me go ahead and let's go ahead and do what we always do and say, what's up with you?
God damn, there's been a lot up with me. Well, not really. I went on vacation. So what that Saturday before I left, I played the Friday before I played a gig. I played in
Did I lose you entirely?
What was that?
I lost you entirely for a second there.
I lost you too. What the hell's going on?
I don't know.
So I played a gig Cary, North Carolina at Chef's Palate. And then that Friday and last Saturday, we got up and we left for the beach. Usually, except for last year, because of Corona, we go to the beach for the week of my birthday. So we left Saturday. We got back this past Saturday. Then I had another gig in Apex. It was 2.5 hours. But all of last week, dude, I don't think I watched much wrestling, but I did what I didn't watch in wrestling, I made up for in drinking. I had a beer in my hand all day on the beach, and then we would go back to the beach house at night, and I'm still sipping on the Crown that I bought. I bought a big ass bottle of Crown and Coke. My brother-in-law, so it's me, my wife and kids, my father-in-law, my brother-in-law. Brother-in-law, my father-in-law was sipping on Grey Goose. My father-in-law was drinking tonic water. My brother-in-law, he came up with something called Goosey Juice, which is Grey Goose and apple juice. Dude, that shit, you got to try that. Next time we're out, we're going to try it. It was good as hell.
Well, you got to find a place that has apple juice.
I'll bring some apple juice into the bar and just say I want some Grey Goose and pour it in juice. And then my wife, she wanted margaritas, so we went to the ABC store, and I was going to buy tequila, and I was asking them if they had a margarita mix, and the lady was like, "No, but we've got over there. It's already mixed together." So I got her this pineapple like margarita, and so she drank on that all week. So yeah, we brought some back home. So we pretty much were drunk all pretty much last week. And we drink on the beach, come home, cook dinner, drink at the beach house, and then Thursday, which was my actual birthday, we went out to Daddy Max's, which is a really, really nice restaurant down there in North Topsail or in Topsail Beach. And I had some obviously had seafood. You got to have seafood when you're down at the beach on the coast like that. Yes. And then we came back, like I said, we came back Saturday. I did my show Sunday. I pretty much just crashed. I didn't do anything all day. and then got up Sunday night and watched a pay-per-view, and then was back to work today. So yeah, so I had a blast. I missed the show last week. I did miss you guys, but I had a blast.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So this week I worked out to where I should have a convention in Kentucky. It's called the Scarefest. It's the 13th annual one, which is perfect because, 13 seems to be a scary number for lots of different reasons. Friday the 13th, the 13th floor, hotels not having a 13th floor on the elevator, all different types of things.
That's cool because don't you have family down there, so at least you can save money on room and board.
No. So I do have family out there, but I was told not to expect them to put me up. So I've already booked the hotel and everything else. I'm about 3 miles away from the convention center, which normally I would try to get the one that's within walking distance, but it was like 3 times as expensive. So 3 miles away, I figure I if I wanted to just Uber and leave my car in the parking lot at the hotel that I'm at, it won't cost me that much.
Hey, Terrence is in. Do you see Hey, Terrence, why isn't Terrence on with us?
Well, because we're doing our show.
Ah.
And he would probably take over our show this week because he was at a convention this weekend. Rest in peace to Biz Marquee.
Yes. We must rest in peace to Biz Marquee and rest in peace to Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff.
Paul Orndorff, yeah, that was a big one last week. So I went down to South Carolina to visit my sister and brother-in-law, also play the Pokemon Go Fest that was going on all weekend. And we stopped at this awesome place called 1233. Now it's called 1233 because December 1933 was when Prohibition was repealed. So they named their distillery, which makes vodka, gin, rum, whiskey, and now even bourbon and tequila. They just bottled their tequila this weekend while we were there, which is pretty awesome. So my sister bought a bottle of the tequila. Yeah, tell Matthew to get out.
I just did. Close the
door.
Get out.
Go on,
here's the
thing.
Go
lay down.
He decided he's going to be an entrepreneur and he wants to start doing chores. And so he just brought me his contract to sign, and part of his chores is dusting. So he decides to wait till 10 minutes to 9 to come in to Haley's room where I am and start dusting. I'm like, you don't get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, you don't get to come in 10 and 9. And that doesn't mean that you don't have to do it to get paid. You still got to do it. You just got to wait until
do it
off here.
Yeah, do it tomorrow.
Or do it as soon as we get done. So anyway, this place is really cool, man. We did the distillery tour, which had the owner of the place. His name's Keith, or Kevin. Kevin.
Something
starts with a K. Starts with a K. He sits there and he tells you all about how like their 2 distilling machines actually make all the alcohols that they do, and they've got this one machine that has 20 different ports in it, which as the alcohol comes through, depending on which kind of alcohol it is, determines which one of those ports it actually sits in and ferments and everything else to the level that makes it either a vodka, a gin, whiskey, whatever.
Right.
So, but when you get done the VIP tour, you get to try 6 of the alcohols, right? So they've typically got 10 to 12 available to try. And you get to try 6 of them, and you get to try them in a speakeasy. So anybody that knows anything about speakeasies understands that while alcohol was illegal in the United States, there were places that would actually have hidden rooms and like secret passages, kind of like an escape room almost, to get into a place to where you would be able to drink your alcohol, right? So we got to go into one of these 1920 style rooms to drink the 6 different tastes, as well as they then give you a cocktail after all of that. And then after all that's over and done with, you get the opportunity to buy the alcohol at a discounted rate, which is really cool because in North Carolina, you can't buy anything at a discounted rate. So the idea of getting like this rye bottle is normally $34.99, but you get $7 off of it. And then if you buy 3 or more bottles, they give you an additional 10% off at that point.
And then and I think South Carolina, you don't pay. Is there no sales tax in South Carolina?
I think there was still tax on everything, but I'll put it this way: I saved $10.50 on 2 different bottles of this one's a rye whiskey, and then I also bought the bourbon. So $10.50 basically meant that for a gold medal winning bourbon, I paid $25.
Nice.
Which is pretty impressive considering a gold medal bourbon you're only spending, $60 or $70 for.
Right.
So did that, and like I said, did a couple things trying to move some conventions along for myself, including the one in Kentucky. There's another one in Charlotte that I'm going to try to go to in September. Probably going to have to. They're not contacting me back about trying to make deals or anything, but interestingly enough, Tino, and I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it yet, but one of the things that's been going on with me recently is I'm working with a group called Succeed with Dyslexia. And you know that Junior High Horrors is the first dyslexia-friendly comic. They came to me and asked me, like, do you want to be interviewed? Do you want to talk to us about this? Do you want to? And now I'm actually talking to them about the possibility of seeing what other types of things that we can work out on top of doing an interview where obviously I'll let them interview me. I don't have a problem with that. You know that I don't mind talking about myself.
I had a question. So we know that Junior High Horrors is obviously dyslexic friendly. Do you think you'll be doing like Immortal or any other of your comics with the same the font with the dyslexic font? So one, do you think all of them will be, or you just think that was a one and done for you?
So the artist of Immortal is also somebody that works in graphic design and stuff in his day life, and has said, what if I could figure out a way to make it look more like regular comic book fonts and yet still try to go for the dyslexia friendly side? Do you think that that's something that you'd be willing to do? And of course I was like, yeah, of course I would. But while that's been talked about, it really hasn't like come to fruition or anything. The main thing I'll say about that is the reason why we're not necessarily looking at that. With Junior High Horrors, it's an all ages book, so we expect younger audiences to pick it up to read it.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense that someone trying to get better at reading would pick that up. Whereas Immortal is going to be more of your standardized comic book series. So while it'd be great if we had 10 and 12-year-olds buying it, we don't necessarily expect 10 and 12-year-olds to buy it. We expect more of your typical 18 to 25 comic book age to buy that title. So. Okay. So
that's just a question I was curious about that. I thought that'd be a.
So it's something that's been discussed, but it isn't necessarily going to come to fruition because with Immortal, like the artwork is going to take more precedence over some of the writing and stuff. Whereas with Junior High Horrors, having larger fonts and things actually makes a little bit more sense because it makes it easier to be able to distinguish and read. That answer your question?
Yep.
So,
got it.
So with all that said and done, I know that you have a particular favorite time during these shows, Tino, and I don't want to disappoint.
That's my second favorite. My first favorite would probably Where the Fuck Did Joe Come From, but we don't have one of those this week. So
what we do actually.
Well, yeah, we do.
We do.
But we'll get to that.
In fact, it might not even be Joe.
Nope, I know what you're talking about.
But But I am gonna say that I do. I was thinking about some of these GameStop stories of the week, and I don't want to disappoint. So I wanted to bring up the situations. Like I've got a couple, but the one that the one that I noticed on Reddit this week. So I'll go ahead and I'll talk about it. So recently, by the way, I went on the GameStop Reddit, and I want to let everybody know that I have recently gone on without my moniker. So now I'm actually on there as Rob Potsy Podcheck.
Right.
Okay. So anybody who goes to the Reddit for GameStop, when you see Rob Potsy Podcheck actually posting, it is in fact me posting on there. And the reason why is because, well, I don't work there anymore. So I have no reason to hide behind a moniker anymore. Now, I'm not going to say what my moniker was or anything else. Those that have known me for a while probably know exactly who that character is that I was portraying. But I've held pretty strongly to the I'm not going to make fun of the company necessarily. I am going to speak how I feel, but I'm not going to sit there and talk shit about the company like so many other people, right? But now you can go on there, and last week I actually posted a GameStop story of the week, even on Reddit. I'm not going to use that one here because you can go on and read it, and maybe I will actually talk about that on this YouTube program at some point. But the one I wanted to talk about this week was when the store would get prank called. Okay, so you remember? Did you ever hear of a website, Tino, called 4chan? Okay, so you're probably a little too old for that. I'm just too old for that. So I'm not even making fun of you here. That like I am too old to be part of 4chan. But the whole reason why I even knew what it was because I worked at GameStop at the time. So anyway, GameStops are notorious for getting prank called, and it could be anything from, do y'all have Battletoads? Remember the old game for the Nintendo, Battletoads?
Yes.
So assholes that were like 12 years old who had never seen the video game Battletoads would call your store and say, yeah, I'm looking for a really hard to find game. I think it's called Battletoads. And then of course, like they couldn't like did you and I ever prank call anywhere, Tino?
You and I?
Yeah.
Together?
Yeah.
I'm sure we did.
Exactly. We probably did. Now you and I, though, when we sit there and we try to do shit like that, we keep a straight face, and we actually are able. Like when I worked at Best Buy, I would call other Best Buy stores and I'd be like, y'all got one of them refrigerators with the head in it? And they'd be like, with a head in it? Yeah, man, I just opened up the box from the refrigerator I got and it had a head in it. And they'd be like, what is this dude talking? So when I started working at GameStop, I obviously felt the need to sit there and call other stores because we didn't have caller ID or anything. Like now they all do, which is great.
You star 6-7. You can still block your number.
Yeah, exactly. So, but what we would do, like because I knew everybody, but not everybody knew all the voices I did, right? So I would call someone up and I'd be like, hey man, I was wondering if y'all had left-handed controllers. And people would be like, because you'd always get the part-timer at like 6 o'clock in the evening or whatever who didn't know shit from anything. So I would call them up and I'd be like, y'all got any left-handed controllers? And they would be like, I didn't know they made left-handed controllers. Yeah, one that works with the lefty instead of the righty, and they would go to their manager and the manager would be like, you're being prank called. Like, what the hell are you thinking? What are you doing? Right?
You're an ass.
So and that was only one of them. Like when I first started, when Xbox 360 was something new, I would sit there and call another store and I'd be like, Hey man, I was wondering if y'all got any of them X80 3060s. and, and like, you know, like you would just go on and they'd be like, do you mean the Xbox 360? Nah, man. I'm talking about the X30 8060 or whatever. And I would change the numbers every time I would do it. And they'd be like, I don't know if this guy's like for real or not. Like you can even hear I don't know if he's for real or not. Like he's asking for an X80X. Like, what is that? You know, because if you looked at the old Xbox logo, it looked like it said X80X instead of Xbox. But so I would sit there and ask for stuff like that all the time. I'd be like, y'all got any left-handed controllers? You know, and you'd always get somebody who would sit there and be like, I didn't know they made those. And you would be like, well, look on the box. See if the box says it's a left-handed controller. Because if it says it's left, I'll be up there in like 20 minutes to get it if it's left-handed. But if it ain't left-handed, I ain't coming up to get it. You know, and of course they would sit there and fall for it every time. But recently on Reddit, somebody was asking about, like, what do you do when you get an abundance of prank calls? And I being myself at this point, you know, obviously they can't sit there and say, well, Rob, you're not allowed to do that. Well, I don't work there, so I can say whatever the hell I want at this point, right? So you know what I used to do when a little kid would call up and try to prank call the store? I would call them back, because I would do the *69, figure out the phone number that called me, and I would call them back.
Oh shit.
And I would be on the phone and I'd be like, yeah, hey, I just want to go ahead and make sure that I've got your information correct. Like, because they would always answer for some dumbass reason. I'd be, hello? You know, like some like 9-year-old kid. Hello? What's going on? You know, and I'd be like, yeah, hi, this is Officer Rex from Raleigh Police Department. I'm just calling because we received a disturbance from the GameStop saying that this number prank called them, and I just want to make sure we've got your information correct. And all of a sudden it'd be like, huh? You know, like, and you know, I would go, well, I'll tell you what. If you call the GameStop back and you actually apologize to them, and we'll have the information because we've got your phone records. If we see that you actually did call them back and tell them that you apologize for doing it, then we will not press charges.
So wrong. So wrong.
So I would prank them back after they pranked me. And dude, they would be crying on I'm so sorry, I don't want the police involved. I didn't mean to do it, blah, blah, blah. But I'll tell you, man, like we used to get pranked all the time. And it was always at the worst possible time to do it. So let's say like you knew that you were going to have a major release that day, right? Mm-hmm. That would be the day that some asshole would call you and be like, yeah, I was wondering if you guys had Playboy the Mansion for PlayStation 2. It's my favorite game, but my disc got broke, so I need to replace it.
Broke.
You know, and yeah, it was whatever. And every single time you would sit there and be like, why the fuck is it today that you're calling? Like if it was tomorrow after this big release is over, I wouldn't give a shit. But you're doing it on the release day at the time that like we have to be focused on people that are standing in front of us at the store, and you dumbass decide you want to call the store now. And because I'm a good store manager at my store, I actually answer the fucking phone, unlike 38% of the other stores that don't ever answer their fucking phone. And yet you want to sit there and prank me right now? Go to hell. You know what? I'm going to write your phone number down. I'm going to give it out to everybody at this release, and I'm going to tell them, hey, right before you go to bed tonight, call this number.
Oh, damn.
Oh, and I did. Because if I was getting prank called, because people actually liked shopping at my store. They'd be like, Rob, why do you look so agitated? Oh, because I just got a prank call. Ooh, can I have the phone number? Absolutely. And I would give out the phone numbers. Dude, there were people that were calling and ordering pizza to different houses based on the phone numbers and shit. Because like, don't fuck with people that don't want to be there in the first place. You know, like, just don't do it.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So that's this week's GameStop story of the week, everybody. Pretty good one, right?
That was entertaining.
Pretty good one. Yeah. Now I get to call all those stores and do that. So Tino, let's go ahead and jump right into Monday Night Raw from last week. You didn't watch it, right?
I watched some of it.
So all I really want to talk about from it is why in the fuck does Bobby Lashley lose a match to Xavier Woods at the beginning of Monday Night Raw, and for the rest of the episode he gets pissed off at MVP because of it?
I think that if you listen to the promo at the end of the night, he is absolutely correct, because if you notice, Kofi has been saying that since you got with MVP and you became, Bobby Lashley, and you got all the girls and all this shit, he did kind of become happy-go-lucky. Not really happy-go-lucky, but he didn't have that edge that he had.
And interestingly enough, I totally agree with you. Interestingly enough, in that statement, he's lost 2 matches in the past 2 months, whereas he didn't lose anything for a year.
Yes.
Now, granted, he was with MVP the entire time, but it wasn't until he became WWE champion that all of a sudden he had this entourage of lovely ladies. Which, by the way, one of them is the first person to show up on both AEW and Monday Night Raw in the same week.
I didn't see that one.
The little blonde girl, don't know what her name is, was actually on.
Who was Michael Turner? Read the comment.
What was Michael Turner talking about? This is Officer Michael Turner. We have had a report that you've been talking about Raw. I'd like to call it and say sorry.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
That was good. That made me giggle. Thank you very much.
Michael is a wonderful person who frequents the comic book shops and comic book conventions in the area. So
thank you for joining the show. We do appreciate it.
Well played.
And
thank you for watching the show.
So anyway, MVP. So which girl is it?
The blonde. There's only one blonde.
Because I've noticed, if you notice, the one with the short dark hair, she's been on regularly. She's become one of the regular.
All 5 of them have been regulars. Like, they have been the same 5, because interestingly enough, they all look like they are. My computer's telling me I need to restart it. So I snoozed it. So hopefully we make it another hour.
That's all we need.
I know that Tino wants to be off here by 10 p.m., folks. So I told him I would do my damnedest, and then I showed up late. So I apologize for all that. And now my phone's getting blowed up too. I don't even know what's going on. But the blonde was on AEW last week on AEW Dark. So she was on the same night on both shows.
Is she a wrestler?
She is.
Cool.
In fact, I think all 5 of them are local wrestlers.
Well, that's cool.
I think that's why they're actually being used as those 5. Because did you notice in some cases they're super hot, and then in other cases it's like Bobby Lashley could do better, you know? Like, and I always feel that way anytime that they bring like the ladies out, like when the Godfather brings his hose, those are
from regular strip clubs. Those are from the strip
clubs.
Well,
they were until later, and then they were probably NXT people towards the end, right? But could you imagine Bailey as a hoe?
Getting back to it. But yes, there is a reason for him to go off on MVP, because that showed him getting that edge back. He needed that edge, and he whooped. I mean, it was a good match.
Well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. Let's go through the week.
Sorry.
But we are going to focus on Money in the Bank because what is going on with my phone?
You're about it.
Text messages. I don't know what's going on with it. Okay, maybe it is text messages, but I'm gonna move it over here. We're gonna get it out of the way. It's probably gonna fall off the thing in here in a minute. Anyways, but that's really all I wanted to talk about for Monday Night Raw, because other than that, the only other thing really sorry, I forgot. Where the fuck is Randy Orton?
I don't know.
Like for fuck's sake, man! And I'm sorry for dropping all the F-bombs.
Is he hurt? Is he?
There is no news about where he is. So the only thing I can assume, is that when he re-signed his contract last year, when he pulled that bullshit where everybody thought he was going to go to AEW because he kept talking with the FTR. Yeah. The only thing I can assume is that he worked out to where he gets a month and a half off a year now or something. And it just happened to come up while he's in this thing with Riddle. And he was like, oh, Riddle's got it. Don't worry. Oh, my best friend, Randy Orton, blah, blah, blah. Let me go ahead and smoke some pot. I'm so high. Oh, and I'm on a ladder. Okay, whatever. But Riddle sitting there trying to dedicate his Money in the Bank match to Randy Orton, wearing the Arcade Bro shirt and everything else. I don't know what happened that made me all of a sudden sit there and go, Riddle seems to be the star of Monday Night Raw now.
And when we get to Money in the Bank, I want to talk more about Riddle. That little thing they had. We'll talk about it when we get to Money.
It's not even just Riddle when you talk about that. I'm going to tell you right now.
That made me laugh.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to tell you right now, the Raw stars stood out during that men's match.
Yes. Like,
without a doubt, every single one of them sat there and said, look at me.
One in particular.
Yeah. Well, two in particular, because one right after the other, right? So
yeah, we're going
to talk about that. That's a little foreshadowing for everybody. Let's go ahead and talk about NXT, where last week we got the first time Cameron Grimes as the butler for the $1 million champion.
And you said you didn't think you were gonna like what it went, and I knew it was gonna be funny, and Cameron didn't let me down. It wasn't even just funny, Tino. It was the fact that he accepted everything. Like, oh, we gotta get rid of that. We gotta get rid of that scruff and everything else. Like, you can't have all that. And he's like, you can't get rid of my scruff. You can't do. And then all of a sudden he gets rid of it, and he's like, oh, this shit looks good. I look good. And LA Knight's like, I didn't tell you to wear gloves. I think my favorite part of that is when LA Knight left and came back, and Grimes is chilling by the pool, and he's got the dude cut the grass for him.
But the whole thing I'm thinking that entire time is we're talking about the $1 million champion, LA Knight, right? And we're talking about a guy who is a self-made millionaire in Cameron Grimes, right? So if Cameron Grimes were all of a sudden told, hey, you got to be a butler, it doesn't mean that he's not a millionaire anymore.
Right.
Right? On top of that, he's also a self-made millionaire from nothing. So in such, he's never gotten groomed by anyone before. He's never had a lawn to sit there and look at and say, I'm going to take care of this, and then instantly go, well, shit, I just talked him into doing it.
That whole those segments, and like I said, I didn't watch much wrestling last week, but those segments they popped me. I was on the couch laughing my ass off because you could see that he's like, hey, I paid this guy to do it. Like you said, he's a millionaire too. So he's like laying by the pool, like, hey, I just paid this guy to do my work. Because you didn't take my money from me. I'm still a millionaire.
What they are doing is taking the classic, oh, I'm going to make you my butler, and making the guy who's the butler, instead of hating every moment of it, he's sitting there like, well, fuck it. All right. You told me I got to do it. I'll do it.
Oh my
You didn't say I didn't have a cup holder when I sat there and mowed the lawn. You know what I mean? Like everything he's doing is gold.
Yes.
The only thing I don't like watching him do is wrestle at this point. I love everything else about him.
He's a good wrestler. Come on.
You're right. He is. But he annoys me.
Yes.
Because he hasn't changed his wrestling to change to his demeanor. He's still doing the exact same stuff in the ring when he wrestles.
But that's what makes it so good. We talk about this all the time. Stone Cold never. The only reason Stone Cold changed his style is because he got his neck broke. But who else hadn't changed their style in forever? I mean, you don't have to change your style. We call Cena the 5 moves of doom. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but hold on. No. Cena never changed from being babyface. After he was the Dr. Thugonomics, he was never not a babyface. So he was never going to change his style. Okay. CM Punk.
What about The Rock?
CM Punk, you're right. CM Punk did not change his style. The Rock did change, but subtly. Okay. And what I mean by that is this: is that when he would drop the people's elbow, he would sit there and, you know, he would do something like he'd grab the mic and he'd be like, this isn't Sing Along with The Rock, you know, when he was a heel. So he was sitting there trying to not get you to, but he was so entertaining that you couldn't help but do it. And then what turned him babyface again was the fact that Mankind started doing all of his mannerisms.
What about Austin? Okay, Austin.
So Austin did change certain things. Like specifically when he became the corporate Austin, sure, he gave everybody stunners still, but he didn't cater to the crowd. He was just dropping people. He wasn't sitting there and you know, doing the salutes and everything else. He wasn't doing all that stuff at that point.
Gotcha.
You know, right. And more than anything else, the one thing that he did try to do visually, like he was when he was doing the single finger salutes, is he was making sure he gave Mr. McMahon a hug. Because everybody hated Vince.
I forgot about the hug. You're right.
So like yeah, when Bret Hart, so Bret Hart, interestingly enough, is the one person in history that was a babyface and a heel at the same time. And it was all dependent upon which country they were in when they were doing their broadcast, right? So he was a prime example of a guy who couldn't really change what he was doing. But when he was in America, he would sit there and say, I'm not going to salute the flag. When he was in Canada, he would sit there and sing the national anthem, you know, like, or hold the flag, you know, and that whole thing. So in almost every situation, we always say that the character themselves doesn't change. That's not true. There's subtle instances. And a prime example of what I'm talking about is Chris Jericho. When Chris Jericho would become a heel, he would change moves in his match. But
Jericho would change because he would change his dress. He would change the cadence of his speech.
That was always the extreme levels of what he would. When we're talking about the wrestler in the ring, though, like when he was a babyface, he'd do the lion salt. When he was a heel, he never did the lion salt. You know what I mean? So and Shawn Michaels was kind of the same way. Shawn Michaels would do everything he could to just sit there and hit you with sweet chin music immediately.
Well, and I think that's a slight difference too. And when we get to SmackDown, we'll talk about it. But when Balor now came out, remember for the longest time when he was heel in NXT, he had that spotlight on him, and when the music hits, it's subtle. When the music hit, he always would do the thing, twice. But when he was heel, I don't think he did it. He might have done it once in his entrance, and he wouldn't do it again. And he's gone back to doing it twice when it hit both times. If you notice, when he got to the ring, he comes up on that turnbuckle, and he does it. He does it twice, and he
when it does the and he's like, yeah, and Finn, or Fergal is one of those guys that just understands ring psychology. Like when he went back to NXT, that Triple H and Shawn Michaels were like, oh, this guy gets it. Like Johnny Gargano.
Oh God.
Like I can't believe the amount of in-ring experience that you have with Gargano, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Tommaso Ciampa. Like those four guys, like if Ciampa doesn't want you to cheer him, he's not going to sit there and go, he's not going to do it, Like he knows. Gargano, like he was on Busted Open last week talking about the match against Karrion Kross that happened on Tuesday night. And it was obviously before the match happened. And yet you wouldn't know that Johnny Gargano is typically a heel person, like currently, by talking to him.
But do you think he's heel right now?
What's
I think they're trying to push Kross as the heel and Johnny as the face right now.
And it's interesting at how that happened, right? Because when Johnny's sitting there trying to be a heel, he's sitting there like smacking things out of Regal's hand and trying to take the brass knuckles off of Regal's desk and saying, I'm not going to close the door. And, like dumb shit because he's a chicken shit heel.
And now he's a face. When he snapped Regal's pencil the week before or 2 weeks before, he came back and brought him, here you go. And he brought him a whole pencil. Gargano makes me laugh too. And then he was trying to kiss Joe's ass on Tuesday when they were.
So speaking of Joe and Johnny and Karrion Kross.
So that was my next thing. Is Joe cleared now? Because Kross annihilated Joe.
So if he's not cleared yet, he's gonna be. And I would anticipate that the next major NXT pay-per-view event, which is probably SummerSlam weekend, is going to be when we get Joe versus Karrion Kross.
So you think that's when Kross gets called up? Because we discussed that's the whole reason they changed Nikki Cross to Nikki Ash, because they didn't want us confusing Karrion Kross and Nikki Cross.
So, yes. I also think that Triple H may have talked Vince into pushing back the draft because I think Karrion Kross would have been the first selected to go to one of the brands. And I think that he's now been able to push that back some so that way he gets to finish his storylines. And obviously we hadn't seen Finn Balor in a while. And we were actually sitting there saying, I guess Finn's probably finished on the brands. Finn, it looks like, got the nice part of the deal because he's going into a program with Sami Zayn, and it's perfect.
Yeah, but my question is, all of a sudden, too, we get 1 week Tegan Knox comes back to NXT to spoil the make them lose the championship belt, and then that that Monday, her and Shotzi on Raw.
I wonder if right now they're considering them free agents. Because while they went up against Natalya and Tamina, like they're the champions, so they can show up on both programs. Well, if Shotzi and Knox are free agents trying to figure out which brand they're going to go to, I guess they could technically fight them on both. And hell, I mean, look at it. John Cena shows up last night, to get in Roman Reigns' face, and yet tonight he's on Monday Night Raw, right?
And Mandy is now on NXT, so is that a demotion?
I don't think it's a demotion at this point. I think that it's going to allow her to develop her skills, and I think that it was probably said that they weren't going to do anything else with her on Monday Night Raw right now. So Hunter said, "Why don't we move her to NXT?" I think that it's possible It's not likely, but it's possible that Vince is finally going to start looking at NXT as a brand that he can move some talent down to that he doesn't see anything in, and Hunter sits there and says, we can use that. You know what I mean? Like, obviously with Balor, they did that. With Fandango and Breeze, they did that. You know, so there are people that do seem to go between the brands a little bit. But, you know, I'd almost, after last night, I mean, I want to talk about Kevin Owens, and we'll get to it in a minute, but I'm very disappointed with what's going on with him.
Yeah,
but let's go ahead and answer Michael's question real quick, which is, do you guys think SummerSlam will be good if they set it up right? Michael, it is going to be in front of 40,000+ people at a brand new arena, where the two main event matches right now look like, if the rumors are true, Goldberg versus Lashley and John Cena versus Roman Reigns.
And
I don't see any way that show doesn't have Peacock crap out on us at least 6 times, because there's that many people watching it, right? And Peacock's not going to fix their bullshit service right now.
I'll watch
it. So I would say that, knowing that right now you're probably talking about Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte in a return match. You're talking about John Cena versus Roman. You're talking about Seth Rollins versus Edge, and you're talking about Bobby Lashley versus Goldberg. Why are you saying no?
Charlotte and Becky.
Possibly. But why not do Bianca versus Becky and get us 2 brand new competitors against each other? Becky's husband is on SmackDown, which typically they keep them together.
Jay's on SmackDown, Naomi's on Raw.
Well, and Corey Graves is on Raw, and Carmella's on SmackDown. I get it, but in most cases, they have kept them together. So if I had to guess, though, I mean, I just like the idea of Bianca versus Becky because we haven't seen it yet.
True.
You know, I also like the idea of Asuka versus Becky in just a standard singles match, because those two would be able to carry each other to a great match. Like if one of them had one leg, like literally, like the leg was cut off, like what was his name that used to be a WWE wrestler? Zach Gowen with only one leg.
Or like caught in the stairs and was kicked 4 times.
Yeah. And don't forget that Vince McMahon busted him open so bad that he almost bled out. So here's the thing. I think that with the action that I saw last night, SummerSlam's going to be a banger. Like I don't see any reason why it won't be a banger. I just don't know if I'm going to care about the storylines leading into the matches. That's what I worry about. You know, because like, let's be real. I didn't care about Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley. Like the buildup has been garbage. Now, the matches are probably some of the best looking women's matches that we've seen in years. And this is a women's division that has Sasha, Bayley, Becky, Charlotte, Ronda Rousey, you know, all these different names having great matches, and yet Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte is probably the best match I've seen them do between two of these women. And it was last night when the build-up for it was absolute hot shit garbage.
Well, we'll get to
the end of the match was absolute hot shit garbage too, but we'll get to that in a minute, folks, because we still have to talk about Tino's favorite program.
It's 9:30. All right, so there wasn't a whole lot on AEW that I was digging, because I'm trying to fly through these. There's not a whole lot on AEW that I was digging, but the one thing I did dig on AEW was that coffin match. I did like that.
We can talk about that. What I will say is the coffin match itself was excellent. I absolutely love the and I just watched the You Can't Kill David Arquette documentary. It's on Hulu now. If you haven't watched it, it's fucking phenomenal. You should watch it, Tino. It's all about how 20 years after he was the WCW World Champion, he decided he wanted to actually become a true pro wrestler and go into the types of matches that nobody thought that he could survive. So he was doing death matches against people like Nick Gage. He was doing matches against Ethan Page. He was doing matches like all over the world. And then he even got invited a year after he was told, you are a piece of shit and can't be part of a wrestling Legends of Wrestling thing. He got a match in the main event against Mr. Anderson at Legends of Wrestling. Now, pretty freaking cool to know that he put that much work, that much effort, and everything else. Dude actually stopped smoking, stopped drinking, and got himself fully clean to sit there and do all that stuff, which is pretty impressive. But it made me see guys like Peter Avalon or Avalone a little bit better, and Ethan Page, like I said, was in one of those matches against David Arquette. So when Ethan Page is sitting there saying that I scratched, clawed, and worked my way up to be here 12 years, the fact that AEW is giving a guy like that a main event match on AEW Dynamite, while you have storylines like Kenny Omega versus Sami Callihan and the Young Bucks versus everybody in the tag team division and whatever, it's pretty impressive to see that they're willing to sit there and give someone like Ethan Page that rub right there. The coffin match itself, like I said, I thought was great. The right guy went over. Obviously, Darby was going to win that match, right? But I didn't like the after match antics. I didn't think it was necessary. I felt like Darby climbing to the top rope and doing a coffin drop into the coffin showed how gimmicked that coffin was. Because that coffin,
I think that was like a nail in the coffin. She's like, okay, this is the end of this. This is done.
But it was like
the information to stand.
But it was like the deathmatch explosion. It was like Jericho landing on the cardboard being tossed off the top of the cage. It literally looked like when he dove through that the explosion was like an ice cream cone exploding.
I liked it.
I just felt like it was unnecessary. I felt like he won the match. He won the coffin match. He didn't need to do anything else. And I really worried for Ethan Page's safety when he did it, because like you can't prepare for a guy diving through when you can't see anything outside the cage. So the other thing that I want to bring up and say really quickly about AEW is that I am really, really, really sick and tired of the Young Bucks. I'm really, really, really sick and tired of Kenny Omega. And now they're sitting there doing like the high ponytail, half ponytail that like hot women wear. Like, what the fuck is going on with that shit? Why are they doing mutton chop mustaches? Why are they like are they? And I swear to God, I thought that the Young Bucks were wearing rompers this week. Like, and I know that they're playing heels. I get it, right? But I want my heels to have backbones. I want my heels to sit there and actually have a pair, because if they're going to win those matches like they've got a pair, they ought to have a fucking pair before that. And so far,
they don't have
I've gotten so pissed off that these guys are sitting here looking like, I don't even know what to call it. I just hate it. So that's my feelings on it. No, Roman was on SmackDown this week. I don't know why that says he wasn't on SmackDown.
Yeah, let's just get to the pay-per-view.
So yeah, let's boom, baby, boom. Well, let's go ahead and say that SmackDown, with the first live crowd in WWE in 450 something days or whatever the fuck they said.
A year and a half.
Wow. Okay. When Edge came out,
Oh my God.
They're going to say that was a Road Warrior pop, but it wasn't. Because you know what was a Road Warrior pop, Tino? When fucking John Cena's music hit was a Road Warrior pop.
At the pay-per-view.
At the pay-per-view. Like, Edge's music hit and people went nuts, and that was great. Edge's music hit at the pay-per-view, the music went, the people went nuts, that was great. But when John Cena's music hit and he came out, he just stood there like this, and then he started like playing around with the camera guy and whatever and giving him a dap and all that stuff. Like, that was fine. But when he went like this to Roman Reigns, that place exploded. Like, that was like the night that Mankind won the world title for the first time, and it was when Austin came down to the ring that place just, like, everybody lost their shit, their pants fell off, who knows what was going on. Like, the entire building exploded, and that's how loud John Cena going like this to Roman Reigns was. Yes. And we all knew it was coming. We didn't know it was coming Sunday night. We thought it was coming Friday, right? But I'm also gonna say that based on that, when John Cena took off his hat and he had that hair, tell me he didn't look 10 years older than he used to.
Yeah, he didn't have the crew cut.
But he looked 10 years older.
But he needs to go back to the crew cut.
It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. It's probably in his contract with his insurance company. He's got to keep the hair.
Wow.
For the movies, man. For the movies. Can't cut that shit. It takes too long to grow. Anyways, so pre-show, Usos versus the Mysterios. Usos win based on the worst double team pinfall combination I've ever seen. Like Jey Uso tried to shove his foot up Jimmy Uso's ass or something. I don't know what was going on.
It worked. I think we talked off air. I was surprised that they let them have it with the DUI arrest.
No, they're just staying good with the family right now. They're staying good with the family. I'll tell you right now, when those two lose, bet your ass it's not going to be Jey Uso taking the pinfall.
Oh no,
not going to be Jey Uso taking the pinfall. You know what I loved about them winning the tag titles? Is when they went backstage and they were talking to Roman, and Roman was like, that's great. That's great. You guys got those tag titles. But who did that?
Yeah.
That was all me. That was all me. I did that for you guys. It was so good, man.
No, that's a dick move.
It was so good though. Because he sat there and he ran them down for 10 minutes, and then he said, but we got all the gold. You guys be proud of that. We got all the gold now. And they're like, oh, yeah. And what the fuck's up with Jimmy Uso now? Like the best thing he can say is yeet.
That's in.
Yeet.
I understand you're older. You're not hip to the.
It's not a fucking word.
Yeet.
It's not a word. Anyway, should have come out as Peacemaker. LOL, John Cena. So
they start with the women's Money in the Bank,
which had me believing that there was going to be a cash in last night. However, I am going to say that based on the fact that they had 8 women in that match, of which Alexa got cheered massively, right? Liv got cheered massively. Asuka being the last one out. Like, that shit almost blew the roof off the place too, right? Naomi, when Naomi sat there and powerbombed somebody like and made it look like she was going to be the one climbing the thing, that place blew up. And yet it's funny because when at WrestleMania Tamina was getting cheered, Tamina was getting booed out of the building last night.
Yes.
Pretty crazy. Nikki ASH, which by the way they kept saying was ASH instead of Ash.
Ash.
I didn't like that. I think that's because it was the SmackDown commentary team and SmackDown ring announcer, Greg Hamilton, whose hand goes like this the entire time he's talking. I'm completely okay with Nikki winning, except for one thing, Tino.
The mask.
No. I'm completely okay with Nikki winning, except for the fact that I feel like her winning was to get this character a little further over. But I think they're going to Otis her.
You think she's going to lose the case to someone?
I think at some point she's going to lose the case to somebody. I think that WWE's booking team and everything else is just going to be fucking scared to sit there and put Nikki into a main event caliber match, and it's going to and she's babyface, so she can't do that. Oh, the heel just got beat down to almost complete zero, so now I can run down to the ring. A babyface has to be like, I'm gonna challenge you at WrestleMania, like that's gonna be the babyface way of doing it. So I just don't see them doing the right thing with her.
Well, she turns heel.
And unfortunately, with the superhero-esque character, you kind of have to feel that at some point the crowd's going to turn on her, and when they do, they're going to turn her heel. And yes, that'll be the right time to do that. Unfortunately, that means that character really doesn't have a long lifespan based on historical events, right? All right, so AJ and Omos versus the Viking Raiders. I actually thought the Viking Raiders had a chance in this match. And I mean, I can't believe how big Ivar is. Like did Eric lose like 60 pounds or something while Ivar was out with nursing the injury?
I think he did. I think he got into shape. I don't think I think he put on more muscle mass. He got a little lean. Did
you hear how over AJ Styles was with that crowd?
I was surprised.
I wasn't. I think that this is a wrestling heavy crowd, so because of that, we're going to get more people that are actually really interested in wrestlers, which means someone like AJ Styles and their overall body of work are not going to not be over anymore. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like Dolph Ziggler's probably going to be over, even though they're going to sit there and try to push him as a heel to you. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, going back to the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match, I was actually more impressed with Dominic in this match than I had been in matches previous. When he did the bounce off the two ropes to do the backflip onto one of the Usos, I thought that was actually very impressive. At the same time, I still think that they're wasting their time with him and need to send him to NXT. But I digress there.
You cannot give him a compliment. You've got to do a backhanded compliment.
I gave him a full compliment, and then I backhanded it.
You get back, yeah.
I slapped him back down after that.
Anyway.
But I do think that he needs to go back to NXT. I mean, everybody can have one good move in a match, but can they put together an entire 5-star match? And right now, I don't think he can, and he is just riding the coattails of his dad. Let's be honest. So, Kofi Kingston versus Bobby Lashley.
Which I was saying earlier, Lashley needed that edge that he got back on Monday night. It was a good match, but he went off.
It was a terrific match. And on top of it being a terrific match, Kofi Kingston was the right guy to do that for Bobby Lashley. because Kofi Kingston was going to get cheered no matter what when they went back to live crowds. So Kofi Kingston going out there and making you think in the first 5 minutes that he had a chance to win that match and then getting utterly destroyed makes you legitimately believe that Bobby Lashley is the real deal now. And by the way, that took a lot because a year ago, Bobby Lashley was in that really bad wedding angle with Lana. Now, he wasn't losing matches, but he was in a really bad angle a year ago. And now he's sitting there as a legitimate Brock Lesnar-esque monster. And when he said on Monday night, I'm tired of the BS, and when he actually said the word bullshit, I was like, good. Let that man be the monster that we all know he is. He is a former Army Ranger. He is a former MMA fighter. He is a multi-time world champion in different wrestling organizations. Let him be what he is. It's like Drew McIntyre. Stop telling me about the fucking Loch Ness Monster and let that motherfucker just be a badass. Do you think Steve Austin would ever sit there and say anything about a Loch Ness fucking monster?
He's not from Scotland.
No. But do you think he'd sit there and talk about Bob's Big Boy or something else? No, fuck no. He would sit there and be like, I'm going to stomp a mud hole in you, and that's what I do because that's the bottom line. That would be it. That's it.
That's it.
You know, like this whole my sword's actually from shut the fuck up. Jinder Mahal's not sitting there saying that his motorcycle was made out of the Maharaja's building or whatever. Fuck that.
Shut up. Next.
Just saying, man. And you know what? I'm completely okay with Drew McIntyre going up against Jinder Mahal right now.
Yeah. Keep him out of
Jinder Mahal is supposed to be a legitimate former world champion, right? So with him being a former world champion and having two backup guys to sit there and try to build at the same time, I'm completely fine with Drew McIntyre being out of the world title picture for at least 6 months. And don't be surprised if he wins the Royal Rumble next year, because that'll be the first time that he actually just randomly shows up in the world title picture again. So don't be surprised. Then we had the men's Money in the Bank match. We've got to talk about that. I know you want to be off of here in 12 minutes, Tino. Men's Money in the Bank match. I absolutely love and hate what they did with Kevin Owens.
Yes. Yes.
Kevin Owens had that moment where it was kick, stunner, kick. Oh, he blocked the stunner. Okay. Pop up power bomb. And then what happened? Seth Rollins picks him up and throws him through a ladder.
And he's out.
And granted, there's no reason why he would be able to get up, because they power bombed him onto a ladder on its side first and then power bombed him outside of the ring onto another ladder. So I get it. But why the fuck is it Kevin Owens always going through that?
They don't give a shit about Kevin Owens.
I don't
understand it.
When he hit the two stunners and the pop-up powerbomb, he got the same pop that Edge got.
Yep.
Like that tells you this son of a bitch is over.
Vince, for some reason, has a heart on. He don't want to put him over.
I wonder if it's the same reason why Jim Cornette didn't want to put him over when he was in Ring of Honor, which is he's told him in the past, hey, lose some weight, get yourself in shape, and look like a champion. But Jim Cornette sat there and said, fuck it, I had to do it anyway because he was the most over guy we had, so I had to do it. Vince McMahon sitting there going, I'll get who I want over. Now, let's let's talk about the two matches that we've got to talk about. Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair.
I want to go back. First of all, Ricochet was the star of that match.
yeah.
I want to go back to where he was on that top ladder and Riddle tried to push him off the ladder. He went off the ladder, bounced off the top rope, and then flipped onto the guys on the outside of the ring.
And let's not forget that the crowd was at one point chanting, and I'm not kidding, folks, chanting, Johnny Drip Drip.
Yes.
What the fuck, man? Like, don't get me wrong. Johnny Mundo, John Morrison, Johnny Nitro, whatever you want to call him. I'm about to sneeze.
Oh, bless you. That's what the fuck's going on with you?
Yeah, I had to sneeze, and I've probably still got another 2 in there. He deserves to be over.
Like Rover.
He deserves to be taken seriously. He shouldn't have drip written on the side of his fucking head. He should be taken seriously as what he is, which is a parkour style heavy metal wrestler.
And I think with that reaction that he got last night, that might help him. Vince might see like, oh shit. Hopefully.
I think Vince is looking at every crowd right now saying that it's the night after WrestleMania. The craziest crowd we're going to have all year.
Yeah, whatever.
We'll see tonight. You know, when you and I finally go back and watch Raw. But you're right. The Ricochet moment where he bounced off the top of the ropes and did a senton into the group of people, and then the meta moment where Riddle was us. Because Riddle just sat there like this. There's no better telling of what occurred. Now, did the right guy go over in the match? There were 3 guys that I felt had earned the right to be called Mr. Money in the Bank. I think Kevin Owens earned the right to be Mr. Money in the Bank. I think that he was the choice that nobody really expected, but at the same time, you know that with all his work efforts and everything else, he had earned that. I felt that Riddle, being the star of Monday Night Raw right now, would have been one of those moments where if he had won it, you could actually see that being the dissension between him and Randy Orton, where Randy Orton sits there and says, I wasn't able to be here. Why don't you give me that Money in the Bank briefcase? And causing dissension between them. So I was totally fine if that had occurred. I didn't want Seth Rollins to win. I felt like he was a cop-out choice. And I was even okay with him being the one that took the last fall down for Big E. Now, I was a little disappointed that it was Big E, though, because I felt like Big E at this point had built himself up as a character enough to where he doesn't need the Money in the Bank. Kevin Owens had fallen off so far to where I felt like the Money in the Bank would be that scary moment that he could run down and either be babyface or heel, and it doesn't matter. People are going to cheer Kevin Owens winning that title. Whereas tonight now, I kind of feel like Big E has to be the guy that comes out in Kofi's defense and says, I want Bobby Lashley at SummerSlam. And instead, Bill Goldberg's going to apparently get that match. Now, we might be completely wrong. They might be swerving us because that's something that WWE tries to do.
I just read something that's going to be Goldberg and Riddle.
Really?
Which I don't get. Yeah, I read it. I was like,
No. I would get that highly because maybe Goldberg's finally ready to play ball with him. And Riddle would do the job for Goldberg, which is perfectly fine right now. At the same time, if they do have Big E come out for the match against Bobby Lashley, then there is story there, and I do like that. I think that is a highly probable possibility. At the same time, I better not see Kofi Kingston on TV tonight. I think that that defeats the purpose of the beatdown that he received last night.
Oh,
where
yeah.
you start talking about how he might have internal injuries and how that's the reason why his chest muscles collapsed, even though they collapsed 10 years ago. Like whatever the case might be. Now, I do still want to talk about Charlotte and Rhea, because Tino, I have to ask, when the referee is watching, as someone uses an illegal object forcibly upon their opponent, isn't that a disqualification in a regular wrestling match?
Normally.
So I know that you can throw your opponent into said ring steps, right? But have you ever seen where someone uses the ring steps as a legitimate way to break your ankle and not get disqualified for it in a no disqualification match?
No.
So what the fuck happened?
I don't know.
Anybody out there in the crowd want to sit there and talk about it? Because it irritated the piss out of me that Rhea Ripley kept getting disqualified in these matches for basically like taking the top of the table off and hitting Charlotte with it. And yet Charlotte uses the ring steps, stuffs her leg into them, and then continues to proceed to kick them.
And I'll be interested to see if Rhea does come back and make a point of that when with the powers that be. I can't think of their names right now.
Sonya?
Yeah, Sonya and what's his dick?
Drip Drip? I mean, Scrap Daddy?
Yeah.
Adam Pearce.
Yeah.
So I loved the match. I think the wrong person went over again. I don't think that there's any reason for Charlotte to go over there. The only reason why I think that they did it, if you recognized, the crowd was chanting for Becky for the first 10 minutes of that match. And Charlotte ended up giving the finger, and they cut it. They bleeped out the entire, they went black. And when they came back, she was still giving she gave the finger for a full fucking minute. And then, like, even Rhea Ripley did something where when she whipped Charlotte outside the ring or whatever, she went to the people that were sitting there cheering for Becky, and she was like, and then they went back, they did the match, and I'm going to tell you, the thing that amazed me the most is that those same bullshit people in the audience that are sitting there, we want Becky, are also sitting there going, this is awesome.
Awesome, yeah.
Because they realized that A, they couldn't hijack the match, and B, to get in fucking line and watch a masterpiece in place until the end. Because like I said, there's no reason for Charlotte to go over there. Finally, let's talk about the main event. Roman versus Edge. Sorry, you're going to be about 10 minutes late, Tino.
I'm not.
Well, then talk about it.
What?
Roman versus Edge.
I told you. I thought it was a good match. The match itself was everything that I thought it would be. I knew when Seth Rollins lost his match, and he was like early, and I think they foreshadowed it well. They had him blaming Edge for having him lose his Money in the Bank chance, and he's like, "Yeah, I should be in that match and not Edge." And then when he lost, he's like, "New plan, da 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 da." I knew what that meant. He's gonna come out at the end of the night.
For a moment in time, I literally thought when Seth Rollins lost and said, "I'm gonna be next going after the championship," for a moment in time, I thought that meant Edge was gonna win. And I would have been completely okay with Edge winning the championship and going against Seth Rollins for the title, and John Cena coming back to sit there and try to shut up Roman Reigns as the head of the table without a championship. And I would have been completely okay with that.
Especially they made such a big deal about the family or whatever it was having all the titles now.
Well, but that would have been the reason why. I mean, could you imagine how loud that place would have gotten if Edge actually went over?
Oh yeah,
You know, because there were a couple moments where like you really did think that Edge was going over in that match, and then when the match ended, and Roman is exhausted and he's barely able to hold up the title, why was that not the perfect time for Big E to come down?
Again, baby, you said it earlier with Nikki Ash. Babyface isn't going to come out. That's a heel move.
Well, except when the heel sits there and beats the babyface in the match in such a dastardly way, like Seth Rollins coming down and causing Edge to lose, that's when it's okay for the babyface to use some of those heel tactics to win.
Okay.
You know, that's the way I feel about it.
But they knew what was getting ready to happen.
I mean, they already know their storylines there, right? They already know that it's Edge versus Rollins at SummerSlam, and it's John Cena versus I didn't
even, when that music hit, that was my where the fuck did Cena come from? I wasn't even thinking about Cena.
When it looked like when Roman asked for the microphone, I knew something was happening. I didn't know that it was Cena, but we knew that Cena was coming back within the next week, right? So having Cena come back at that moment definitely gave Peacock their moment, right? But when Roman asked for the microphone, that's when I thought we were going to get Big E to slide into the ring and step up to him. But the whole time I was thinking, there's no way it's going to be Big E because Big E now has to defend the honor of Kofi Kingston.
Yeah.
You know, either way, thought it was. I thought the pay-per-view was excellent.
I'd give that one. That was an A minus.
I think the crowd definitely improved whatever rating it was, and I think that at this point,
I think it was such a good show too because, like we said earlier, they hadn't had a crowd in a year and a half, and I think they were feeding off the crowd, which means they were putting. I want to say they were putting more in, you know, but I think that hyped them up to. I won't say put on a better show, but put on a better show. You know what I mean?
Okay, Tino. Bleacher Report apparently has sent me a bunch of messages.
I've gotten them too. I don't want to say anything because I know it's going to keep us on longer.
Well, should we go ahead and tell the crowd that actually listened to us what's happening?
All right, for this last little bit because I got to go.
All right, so I'm going to start at the beginning. John Cena kicked off the brand. John Cena says Reigns is an asshole. Okay. Becky Lynch shows up and responds to Charlotte on Twitter.
And my man's back.
Karrion Kross to Monday Night Raw.
That's not who I'm talking about. You know who my man is.
The Limitless One.
Keith
Lee answers Bobby Lashley's open challenge for later tonight for the WWE Championship.
That's what I can't wait to get off here.
So, with that said, folks, I'm going to pull up the outro music. I'm going to let Tino take us out. I'm 4 minutes late. I apologize for that. Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. The Kevin Nash interview was kind of awkward if you haven't watched it on the Broken Skull. The Broken Skull.
So they put it back up. I know you had put something. They pulled it, so they put it back up.
They put it up. Kevin Nash looks like he's sedated.
It might have been why they pulled it at first.
And you know what it makes me really want? Last thing I'll say about tonight's episode. It makes me want a Broken Skull session between Steve Austin and Hulk Hogan.
That'd be interesting. Wow, yeah.
Makes me want it.
All right.
Tino,
as always,
you, bro.
You can check him out on the Twitter machine. He is at PotCheck. I am HootieFan91. You can check the show out, the Potsy and Tino. We're on Facebook at the Potsy and Tino Show. He is on the Instagram. No, excuse me. Yeah, Instagram. Instagram. He is Rob Potcheck. I am SC Tino. He is also on the Twitter, which is, what is your Twitter?
Potcheck.
Potcheck. And as always, you're checking us out on the YouTube, so you know the channel.
Don't forget that Potsy has a TikTok.
Did I say your TikTok?
No, it's Rob Potsy Potcheck. And tonight, folks, if you go onto my TikTok and like it and subscribe to the channel, the cool thing about it is that I posted a video of me drawing Ghost Rider using 3 different glow-in-the-dark colors, and it is badass.
I have to go back and check that out. As always, folks, you can check us out each week right here every Monday night. We want to say thank you to Adam's House Cat for our theme music, which is the wrestling song. You can find that on iTunes for 99 cents. As always, folks, we hear Ric Flair in that big house up in the Queen City, and he is saying, woo!
Woo!
Good night, folks.
Good night, everybody.
Peace.